Hello, Music Bear here. I was asked on forum if I could explain how to make a bass line that would go from almost uh, muted up to crisp, and that is of course very simple because that is just using the um, the filter section and inserting a low pass filter and automating that. But it also then hit me that we could talk about interesting bass lines in general. So first we're gonna look at this thing here, how to make this simple change in a bass line, and then we're going to make them more interesting. I'm going to use TrippleOscillator because this is the most basic instrument we have in Elements, and as you know, the TrippleOscillator is very easy in its to understand in its user interface. There's the envelope and LFO tab here, and we have the function tab where we have arpeggios, and we have the possibility to insert effects on this instrument, or preset as it would be when we start to change it and save it. Right. We also know that there are 3 oscillators, and each of those has its own what they called octave, that is its play on. You can listen to that if we take away 2 of them here, and then I'm just gonna press this note. It's very low. Then I'm gonna take that away, and I'm gonna play this part of the instrument. Clearly it's at a higher octave, and finally gonna play this one. So when they all play together, we get a combined result like. So that is how it's the instrument as such sound. Now, what I do when I have this task of creating a new instrument, in this case a bass, I just throw in some random notes. Now it went away. And then I play those in a loop, and I manipulate the settings in my instrument, or until I have some kind of success, something that I think is okay. So I'm gonna start playing the random notes here, and it sounds like that. And let's see what we have. We have decay. We could change the decay a bit, right? Okay, let's take the filter off. Listen to that without filter. Sounds like that. Okay. Yeah. I think that's okay for a sine wave bass, because it is a sine wave bass. We have sine on all 3 of these oscillators. If we change the the deepest, the one with the lowest octave, we can hear immediately that this changed the instrument a lot. Here we have a near sine shape. This is also a near sine shape. So they're not so prominent as these are here. So do we want to have a square wave, or do we want to have a saw wave? Let's try the saw wave, and we can then start again to change the decay a bit. I think that's okay. And then we have the issue about how to change it in automation. And of course we just invoke the filter section here on the in the envelope filter section, and we can now hear that the closing the filter completely takes away all of the sound. Then when we open the filter, we get that effects that we go from dull muted to crisp open. Part of that is also the amount of resonance that we give. We have to be careful with resonance, especially if we use a Moog filter, and you can never ever extend 0.85 because then we have a horrible and ear damaging sound. But we are using a low pass, so we can experiment with the resonance. If I turn it all up, we get the typical sound that we know from acid music. Listen. So that is how we make a typical acid bass. Let's bring it back here again and come to the subject of automation. It's all about adding an automation track. We do that here, and in that automation track we then have to add our controller. Let's see here. So was that my yes, and we just take the mouse rested, press control, press and hold left mouse, drag it in and drop it in our automation track, and it will do like that. The smart thing, the smart thing here is that we get the value that the button had when we dragged it. We get that in as base value, so we can now change this from its base value to a more opened value. So we start with this, you can hear that, and then we will change it into something more distinctive. We'll wait with that one there. It sounds okay. So let's open this, and you see that is our base value, not bass value. It's also our bass value, but never mind. We can add points here. This is the discrete type of progression. We have the linear, where the change would go like that, and then we have this cubic type, where we can, for instance, have a very tiny, and then more dramatically raise here. Unfortunately, we know we don't have any transports here in our editor. That's a shame, but it will go something like this. So we're going to close that again. So that is our filter opening, and then continuing to play from that point until we again change this with a new automation track. Basic stuff, but let's take a look at how we can improve this. So we're going to drop this test thing here and just throw in a note. And that note, we will put an arpeggiator on it. And the arpeggiator lives here in the see? Now it goes like that. So I think we should crunch this a little bit more. So it gets more expression before it opens completely. We of course do that all much longer if we want. So now we have this boom, 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 boom. But we would like to have it a little bit more interesting. And we can do that quite easy by cloning that track. So now we have two identical, and we have a little mistake in that, because the actual dial is not connected, so it's not a complete clone. You have to remember to do that manually. Look into get that fixed, I think. Again, hold Control, hold and press left and drop it. So now both follow that automation track. We can do that because they're identical and the buttons are identical. You cannot put in a button with a span from 1 to 100 and then use that together with a dial with I don't know, 1 to 10,000. Then it goes not that well. But these are identical, so we can use them together. Yeah, well, big deal. What we have done is in fact that we have doubled the sound, right? that's not very interesting. Of course it isn't. So instead, we'll do this. We will move that note just... Oops, no, wrong. That was also wrong. And now we can hear how we get a completely new expression. And that's more interesting. And it can get even more interesting if we do it once more. Close, open, and bind. And change. It comes next time around. Now we're talking. That is the bass line we know from a lot of trance. And listen carefully what happens now when I start to manipulate the volume of these dials. That was one expression. That's another. And here we have yet another. So we can play with these dials here and get different expressions of this typical EDM bass. And there are endless variations, because we can of course also play with other dials. We could, for instance, start to work a little bit with this decay. So that goes like that, or we could go the other way. And because we also have here in the function, we have a gate, we can play with that. Not that obvious. Let's take another one and see if that will change more. Oops, go there. It's so short already, so the gate really doesn't do a lot. Also observe that I have put the range on just one octave. Elsewhere we get this dong dee dong dee dong, and that's more like I don't know, German Schlager. That's not what we are looking for. So here we have this typical bass sound from EDM in 140 beats per minute. And how about this? That was too much. always have to start. Endless possibilities. And what about some swing? Well, we can do that if we go into here and change this to a high value, like, yeah, I don't know, let's try this first and then just change it ever. Now we have swing. Let's try to change it a bit more. You're coming next time. Another swing. I can't tell you the percentages, but it's different type of swing. No, that's just, that was uniform with I guess the third. Yeah, now we got something swing. It's all about having these notes with a uniform distance falling into the position of in between the two others. We can add a fourth, of course, and get yet another expression. I don't know how this is going to work actually. Let's just try to do it. And we are going to here, and we are going to bind the frequency. And then I'm going to take this guy here and put it there. Listen. Ah, that's not good. If that's not what you're aiming for. But there are so many different type of variations that you can make with a bass like this. And of course, I could also exchange one of these for a different instrument. For instance, try to put in, I don't know, should we try to put in a, let's try Monstro. Just drop a Monstro on top of it and see how does it sound. Let's try to play that. Immediately I can hear that I want to have this Monstro in a lower register. Let's try that. Okay, then we'll have to take a look at it here and say, let's put it in that position there. Let's try that. Not so bad. And anything you can do here with any kind of dial, this is all in sine. We don't have to do that, right? We can put in different let's try ramp, for instance. I'm not that knowledgeable in the Monstro, I'm afraid I have to say. I'm not using that a lot. But another variation. The sky's the limit. You can variate this over and over and over and in so many, well, endless ways, really. And that is a different way to use the arpeggiators, um, and to get a more creative bass out of that. And that is about what I wanted to show you today. So I don't have anything more, so we'll just say bye bye.